Welcome back. All right, so yeah, trade week. So we've got trades to talk about. We got 4 on the board, so I'm going to skip around the board a bit and talk about those first. First off, the Anaheim Ducks, Henry Thrun made it clear he was not going to sign with the Ducks and told them, I'm not going to sign in Anaheim. So they've sent his rights to the San Jose Sharks. They've acquired a 2024 third round pick in exchange. Good move by Anaheim. I like this move because it means that they don't lose an asset for nothing. NCAA players have done this to teams before, so it does not happen to the Ducks here. They do get a draft pick. It's next year, but it's fine. Thrun is seen as a player who probably is going to end up being an NHLer. I'm guessing that if his rights are traded to San Jose is confident they'll get a deal done with him. We'll see when that gets signed. And then what the plan is going from there. Now, what everybody's talking about right now is the Patrick Kane trade, which hasn't officially happened yet. So this is not officially the trade video yet, because we know that other things can come out. Remember Timo Meier a couple days ago? Yeah, other things can happen here. You've got all these contracts and monies and everything. So Patrick Kane's going to the New York Rangers. He's played 54 games this year, 16 goals, 29 assists, 45 points. And there are plenty of people saying he's washed up and he's done and he's not. Okay, he's not the same player he was 5 years ago, but all the people saying he's washed up, I think, are overstating things. Now, apparently going to the Chicago Blackhawks is a 2023 second-round pick that can become a first. In the event that the New York Rangers win 2 rounds, it becomes a first-round pick in either 2024 or 2025, as Elliot Friedman's reported. There's also a 2023 fourth-round pick in there. So they don't get as much back, and there's a 50% retention by Chicago as well. They don't get as much back for Kane as I thought they would. But again, this is not the final trade yet. We'll see what that final trade looks like. Supposed to be a 3-team call tonight. 2025 third apparently is going to the Coyotes, who are going to act as brokers. So 50% retained here, 25% here, and Chicago Blackhawks move on from Kane. Kane ends up being a New York Ranger. And there you go, it's done, and then we'll see how many people take the Rangers to win the Cup. Either way, you're going to have quite the fight in that division, whether it's Carolina and the Rangers, New Jersey and the Rangers, however we end up seeing that first-round matchup go, it should be absolutely just crazy. Also, the Minnesota Wild have reacquired Marcus Johansson. They know Johansson well. He was acquired from Washington for a 2024 third-round pick. Now, for Marcus Johansson this year in 60 games, he has 13 goals, 15 assists, 38 points. The only season he played in Minnesota was 2020-2021. 36 games, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points in that season with Minnesota. So they know what they're getting. They know what they're giving up. This is the kind of addition that we thought we would see from Minnesota. They don't have a lot of cap space, right? So for Minnesota, they have to be careful with that. But the trade that really caught me off guard, the trade that made me say, wait, what? So Eric Gustafsson has become a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs along with a 2023 first-round pick, which apparently is the one that they got from Boston. And that pick may get moved as well before the deadline by Toronto. The Washington Capitals get Rasmus Sandin. Sandin's been in the doghouse in Toronto on and off since he was drafted by them. And I don't understand it. I think Sandin is a very good defenseman. So I think the Capitals did very well here. Gustafsson is having a career year. He's playing very well offensively. He's putting points on the board. The tremendous point streak that he's had going over the last, I'll say 20 games, last 20 games, he's been playing really, really well. I don't know how sustainable that is, though. And I look at this and I think, okay, now if you asked me, said, Shannon, which defenseman do you find more impressive, Gustafsson or Sandin? My answer would be, right now, Gustafsson's been the better defenseman, but who do I think will be the better defenseman next season? It's Sandin. Now, I've talked about Toronto being all in, and this absolutely once again shows that they're all in, but I wonder how Gustafsson will do with the trade from Washington. This is the thing. He's having a career year. He's playing very, very well. How will he do after the trade? Sandin, I have no doubt, will play well for Washington. I'm one of the ones that really does like Sandin quite a bit, so we'll see how he does with the Caps, but I like that return for the Caps a lot. That first-round pick going to Toronto is likely going to be, you've got to think, 28 through 32, somewhere in that region, because, it's a Boston draft pick. Even if they lose in the playoffs, it's still a really late draft pick in the first round. So we'll see. Let me know your thoughts about any of these trades in the comment section below because it's a lot. And again, I will be doing an actual trade video on the Patrick Kane deal when it's official. Because again, between now, what's being reported, and what actually happens, there's no telling of how this trade might be altered or who else might be added. Because it does feel like it's one of those trades where guys could be added, much like the Timo Meier deal. Ken Holland. So Ken Holland wanted to extend Puljujarvi before trading him and was offering him in the ones, is what he was saying. So between $1 and $2 million as a cap hit, and the agent and the player wanted nothing to do with that, and so he ended up trading him. I also thought it was weird. He was talking about the lack of cap space, and people kept asking about the lack of cap space, and he kept saying, I had $82.5 million, and I knew I had $82.5 million, and I had to spend the entire $82.5 million to make sure that I had put the best team possible on the ice. My answer to that would be you don't have to spend right to the very cap to put the best team on the ice, but I do think this is the mentality from a lot of GMs, that I don't want to go into the season with $3 million in cap space. I have this cap space, I should go out and get somebody. And I think that's flawed thinking. I do. I think what we've seen this year is the guys get hurt, you call guys up, guys who might cost you $3 million less than the guy who got hurt, and he plays well and your team still wins. So I think that either GMs have to figure out a way to control their urge to go all the way to the cap and just come up with a realistic, okay, here's our lineup, and yeah, we've spent $79 million. We don't need to spend that other $3.5 million just for the sake of spending it. Because that's what it sounded like to me, was we have to spend right to the cap to show. Because the other problem is this, and I don't know if this question was asked as a follow-up. So if you spend all the way to the cap to make your team the best that they can be, and they're still middle of the road, mediocre, or maybe miss the playoffs, does that mean that you had a flawed plan for how you put your team together? And that's a question. That's a problem I've had with Vancouver for years. They're right at the cap. They're right at the cap. Why? They're not a very good team. Why are they always at the cap? And that tells me somebody's budgeting wrong. Somebody's overpaid. And with Vancouver, there's a lot to talk about when you talk about players that are overpaid. And with Edmonton, there are definitely players whose salaries are a little bit higher than they should be. That cap hit's higher than it should be. And some of that rests on Ken Holland, right? So we'll see what else the Oilers have to do. But I thought that was a weird tack for him to take of, well, I had to spend the $82.5 million because I had to. That spending more doesn't mean you're spending smart. That's not how that works. And spending all the way to the cap means you cannot complain after that you can't make trades because you spent all the way to the cap. You can't. And we've seen GMs complaining like, I don't have any money because you spent all your money. It's like kids, you give them $20, you go, here, go get yourself something. Can I get that? What happened to the $20? Oh, I spent it over there. Well, then you spent your $20. Why? Anyways, it's the same kind of thing. Can I have more money? No, that's not how this works. So anyways, yeah, so there you go. The $82.5 million had to be spent by the Oilers because they had to. That's the official standpoint on that. We had to spend to the cap, and now we can't make trades because we had to spend to the cap because we didn't want to. And again, this is something I've talked about. How many times have I said, I don't know why GMs don't plan ahead. They need to plan ahead. Plan for next year. Plan for the trade deadline. Plan for the year after that. Make sure you have that cushion, that you have saved some cap space. Instead of getting that guy at $4 million, get a guy at $2 million. Maybe you're not getting a guy as good, but you're saving yourself that money to spend somewhere else. All right. The suspension came in today as well. K'Andre Miller will be suspended 3 games. Ranger fans not happy because they do believe that it was an accident for one, and also that K'Andre Miller immediately apologized for it. So there's that, right? And either way, he's gone for the next 3 games. That will impact the New York Rangers. Miller's a very good defenseman. One of my favorites on the New York Rangers, absolutely. And so they're going to miss him for the next 3. That being said, they're not in any kind of danger of missing the playoffs. They're kind of entrenched in 3rd spot right now. So, it is what it is. I don't think there'll be any kind of an appeal of the suspension. It doesn't seem like the kind that they'll appeal, so we'll see. The Anaheim Ducks, not only making a trade today, but claiming Harrington on waivers from the Devils. So, of course, he was acquired in the Timo Meier deal. He's right back in California. I hope he didn't pack up to go to New Jersey because he's right back in California. And he's just moved further south. He's gone from San Jose to Anaheim. Harrington is a depth defenseman. The Anaheim Ducks definitely could use a depth defenseman, especially if you're going to get him for free, which is what they did here. Caden Gooley will be returning tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. They've missed him in the lineup. He's another one of these good young defensemen. There is no shortage of good young defensemen in Montreal. There's a lot of speculation about Edmondson and where he's going to go and what's going to happen with Edmondson, who's going to trade for him. I will see whether or not he's gone by Friday, if he's gone later today or what happens. But yeah, Caden Gooley will be returning to the lineup for Montreal in their next game, and that's good news. Gooley, good defenseman, and yeah, I'm anxious to see what he's able to do when he gets back out there. Waiver wire news when it comes to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They've waived Brock McGinn as well as Mark Friedman. Brock McGinn had a really good run going there and then went ice cold, and it has been cold for a while. Now with McGinn, if the cap hit wasn't, if the cap hit was like 750 or 800,000, I would be willing to bet dollars to donuts the Canes would pick him up. Canes had McGinn before, and they could use some more depth up front. But if McGinn clears waivers, maybe the Canes pick him up and send him to the AHL. And then they don't have to worry about having to waive him because Pittsburgh already did. They wouldn't have to worry about so much of a cap hit because 1.12, I think it's 1.125 million of a salary you end up bearing in the minors. But yeah, McGinn, a player that if they tried to move him, say a couple months ago, I think would have had probably some interest. But at this point, it's been a black hole from that bottom six in Pittsburgh. And giving them away for nothing, it's a decision. It's definitely a choice. And Friedman, depth defenseman, should be able to clear waivers, no problem there. And last up, apparently Colton Parayko, who has a long-term contract that is seen as an issue. Parayko's a good defenseman right now, but is he going to be good throughout that contract? Probably not. But he may be on the move. Apparently there's a lot of discussion about who might be interested, and apparently there might be more than one team looking at Parayko as an addition for their team at the deadline. And so we'll see if he ends up staying in St. Louis. I think if St. Louis could get out from under that contract, they absolutely would, going through this reset that they're going through. I think with St. Louis, it's going to be a bit of a retool. I think next year they'll be looking to get back into the mix. But if they can trade out some contracts, save some money, and have some money to spend this summer, I think they'll do it. So we'll see what happens with Parayko. But let me know, once again, let me know your thoughts on these trades in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.